Good afternoon, everyone. This is Joy LaCharest, and I have with me Chrissy Alexander for our interview today. And we're looking forward to this interview, obviously. Uh, this program is being sponsored by the Luscious Moss Studio, owned and operated by Chad Christ in Edgewood, Washington. His studio is basically set up for drummers and guitarists, but he does other things, including recordings for people. So if you need to get a hold of him, just go on Facebook and type either Chad Christ or Luscious Moss Studio. He has a very creative, integrative environment that cooperation is just there in the whole scenario. So do get a hold of him if you have some needs. And with that, we're going to start this interview with Chrissy. So please give me I know I've read it. I've read your bio, but you know what? Bios are usually kept pretty short because it's electronic. So can you give us an idea how you started out, Chrissy?
Well, it was started in Montana, actually.
Wow.
My cousin had entered me in this country showdown contest, and I knew nothing about it. So when they called me to ask if I'd be interested in being a contestant, I said, well, I live in Washington, so I think there's a misunderstanding, right? Well, once I got to the gist of the story, I made a trip to Kalispell, and there was 19 contestants that participated with the live band.
Wow.
So the band had their work cut out for them. They had to learn 2 songs from each contestant and be ready to perform. So, that was, again, this is where I got my stage legs. This is where I learned little tricks of the trade, the politics of contests and things of that nature. So when I went to Montana, I ended up finishing in the top 3. And later on was told by the radio station that I actually won the contest, but they gave it to the school teacher in town because she was from Montana and I was from Washington. I was like, awesome. Okay. So I was like, here we go. Again, it was just such a whole new learning curve for me. So it ended up being the band that did all of this working with the contestants. They called me a couple of weeks later and asked if I'd be willing to join their band. So first of many bad choices, I decided to reckless ones, I guess you could say, quit my job and moved to Montana to sing with a band. So
how old are you? I mean, I don't want to date you, but were you out of
23?
Okay.
24. So I moved there and I was singing 4 nights a week, making $800 a month.
Yeah.
Got a job working for a construction company, cleaning houses, and that was under the table money. So I was making good money for the time, back in those days. And then when something fell through with the band, and I moved back to Washington. And then I started, I had an audition with Pop Culture, and I can't even remember how I even got the audition, to be honest with you. I don't remember. My memory's a little foggy, but explains a lot.
Wait till you get this age, girl.
I know. It's like, golly, these birthdays, they just keep giving me these gifts that I don't want. So, but, and I sang with Pop Culture for almost, 6-7 years, and again, learning things, learning how naiveness can get you taken advantage of. So, I paid attention a lot.
Yes.
Let's put it that way. I put it in my little mind bank. So I paid attention. And then from that point on, I just wanted something more for myself. I wanted to do music that I was more interested in, which has always been country. So I actually started sending out press kits to all of these casinos that we had worked at, right? And sending them a picture, sending them a song list, all this little pretty package. And then we started getting bookings, but I didn't have a band yet. So I was like, oh my God. So I called up the guys and said, hey, we need to get a band together, and so I got Jeff Mills aboard, Alec Johansson at the time, Mike Kesterson, and Dave Dodge. I mean, it was just an excellent collaboration of musicians, and we pounded it out and put a set list together, and they learned it, and we started playing some casino gigs.
Wow.
So, it's always like me to pull the cart before the horse, And
you can hold that thought right there. Okay. We do have somebody who said, hello, Joy and Chrissy. It's Alexandra Hollister. So hi.
Oh, hello, Andrea.
So putting the cart before the horse, what happened there? What happened with the casino?
Again, it was, how can I say this without being a jerk? It was just, it wasn't a good fit after a while.
Yeah.
When you're in the only female singer in an all boy type of background, there's some animosity sometimes, and I've just never been one. I'm like, listen, I'm not here to date your boyfriend. I'm here to use his talents. Let's put it that way. So it was just a matter of me finding the musicians that were able to say, I'm here for the music, and I'll put my personal life aside and not let them make decisions for me.
Right.
And let's just do the music. And that's, so, I mean, it's been ongoing. I mean, it's a dog eat dog world, and, we're wearing milk-bone underwear half the time. It's just trying to, find that balance and just say, and like I said, I was in pop culture. It opened my eyes to a lot of things. And it just made me.
There's a saying for that, Chrissy. Yeah, when you're
Is there?
up to your ass in alligators, it's hard to remember that your prime objective was to drain the swamp.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just weird to me. I mean, I embrace music so much, and I encourage women. I see women and I tell them they're beautiful. I mean, I'm not a bitter person. I'm comfortable in my own skin, and so I try to cut that tie, when you're in a band, when you get the wife or the girlfriend that comes up and says, hi, I'm the wife, or I'm the girlfriend. It's like, I already know what I'm getting into. I mean, if that's my first introduction to somebody. So, I just try to keep it amicable, but at the same time, it does affect your stage presence, because I love to engage with my members. I like to stand next to them and, just get into it and feel like I can be myself. But when I have this girlfriend or wife wall up, you have to be very constrictive about your movement. And so it makes things a little uncomfortable, but, at the same time, I've always taken the high road, respected that boundary, and just left it at that, so.
Well, I get that. We do have a few more comments. Johann, it's like Johann.
That's Johann. Yes.
Johann. Oh, he wouldn't like that, right? Happy birthday, beautiful, was the comment.
Thank you, honey.
Hello, Joy and Chrissy. I just posted an invite for Chrissy band gig at the Toledo Casino on November 5th at her new website. So
yeah, that's my disco gig.
Hey.
Yeah.
So I'm curious. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm curious to know how you got started. I mean, I did read something about your parents, but how is it that you what was your first instrument? And obviously Elvis was an influence, but
it was, so it's funny because I used to have all the girls in the neighborhood. I had all neighbor girls. We'd all hang out, and I'd have talent contests, and we still laugh at this to this day. They say we'd have talent shows at your house, but you were the only one allowed to sing. So I was like, really? So, but it was just funny to me. I mean, I don't know where or how I picked it up. I mean, my mom, when she'd clean house, she would turn on her albums, mind you, Donna Summer, the top 70 hits or whatever, and I would just listen. And so she trained me to have all these different types of music, but Olivia Newton-John was definitely someone I latched onto, especially her country albums, and then from that point, when I was old enough, I started to do karaoke, of course, that was my stepping stone. And I used that as a tool to find my range, to find what type of music and artists that I'm able to be comparable to. I used it to help me. I still use it to this day. I'll go out to a karaoke bar and I'll have a set list of songs that I want to add to our set list of whatever music we may be doing, and see if it's something that I enjoy doing or if it's going to be something that's boring or what have you.
Right.
So I still use the karaoke till this day to see if it's something that is going to be favorable to add. But so from that point on, the family would come out and support me and make them come out to the karaoke bars. And, you get all these, and you enter all these different contests, like the country showdown, or you enter the local one. And again, the politics are always there. It was all about, I like to say it's all who you know or who you blow, but it's like, as you got older. But yeah, I mean, it was just a lot. I mean, I just absorbed so much, and I've always been one to take constructive criticism as an open eye. I never looked at it as, well, they don't know what they're talking about or this and that. I took it as, okay, maybe I need to pay attention, whether this person is just a viewer or whether there's someone in the business or whatever. I've always kept my eyes wide open. And from that point on, I just, having my own bands was something I really wanted to strive through, because I wanted to write music. I wanted to be my own creative and exploit my life on paper, and because country music is exactly that. I was able to get together with my friend and go to Nashville. We were so broke. Yeah. Talk to you guys. We were so broke that we took 4 layovers to get to Nashville. And then we had to drive from there to Belmont, Mississippi.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. It was the most amazing trip ever. And I still hold him dearly to me because the doors that he's opened for me. We walk in the studio and there's gold records from Waylon Jennings everywhere. There's letters from Johnny Cash. There's Johnny Cash's guitar. And that song, Having My Baby?
I don't remember that one.
Oh, my baby. It was like an old one. And Jerry Bridges is the one who wrote that song. So, I mean, it reminded me of a song that my mom used to play, when we were cleaning house. And so I was overwhelmed. I was humbled. I was like, wow, where am I? Because Todd didn't tell me where we were.
Right.
And why, I was just there to do backup vocals for him. And so a funny part in one of his songs was we needed to have like a horse running, right? And we were trying to think of how we were going to get the sound, right? And I was wearing a jean skirt. It was hot as heck in Belmont, in Mississippi. And so I had flip-flops on and a jean skirt. And I don't know even how it got on the subject, but I was taking my hands and like pounding them against my skirt. And I said, hey, wait a minute. So Todd, I took off my flip-flops and I leaned over the bar stool and he tapped on my rear end with my flip-flops and it made a horse sound. So no, it's kind of a weird thing, but yeah, I mean, it's fun. The stories that you come up with. And I that's where everything really started changing for me, because when all the boys went outside, you see how they write their notes. It's all Nashville notes, which everything comes down and not straight across. And so I was learning so much about this. And I remember asking Jerry, I said, hey, do you mind if I kind of tinker around with the microphone, while you guys are outside taking a break? And he goes, yeah, sure. I'll leave it on for you. So I'm just in there doing acoustic stuff, just singing to whatever. And he came back in and he says, honey, he says, why didn't you tell me you could sing? And I said, well, I'm not here for myself. I'm here for my friend. This is not why I'm here. And that's what started our relationship, because he knew I wasn't out for myself. And that's when Jerry and I scheduled some time together, and I came back to Mississippi and we wrote some songs, and they're nothing but pure country. I mean, I had stuff written on like barf bags from the airplane. I had Sharpie messages on my jeans. You just name it. I had this big collaboration of crap that I had no idea where it was going to go, because I have a tendency to stray. I'm like a stray dog when it comes to writing. I would start writing something. I'm like, oh, wait, that set of lyrics will be great for something else. And then before you know it, I've got all this half-assed stuff, right? So Jerry's like, honey, just sing it and I'll play along. So we sat down with an acoustic guitar and I started singing and he started playing. Before you know it, the lyrics were just getting pulled out of me.
Oh,
And it was, oh my God. I mean, to see something that you started, actually come to life and get finished was wow.
yeah.
I get tears just thinking about it.
Yeah.
So it's like, now what do I do? you know, it takes money. It takes so much money. And when you're trying to do that on a self budget, I spent $6,000 to get it done. And now I have to do it all over again
Mm-hmm.
because you don't have the money to finish the production, finish the editing, finish the whole bag of tricks that comes with it, and to pay the musicians, it was back then, it was $800 per song,
Oh,
you know? So I just talked to Jerry recently and it's going to be 20 grand to finish this
wow.
album.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
let me just write you an IOU, let's do that. So, that's been my biggest struggle is just trying to figure out how can you make this stuff work? You got to collaborate with the right people. You've got to find that trust in someone. And that's what I have with Jerry. Jerry Bridges has been such a goalkeeper for me. He's make sure that I knew what I was getting into. He's got a line of musicians for me to work with, people that I can use as a name drop, if you will, to find the people that want to participate in this project. So that's my next step right now. But I've got all these different bands coming. So finally Calamity Jane has came to a point where I've got the musicians that I need, and I'm able to separate the country from the rock, which I still love to do. When I play with Chad Quist, who's an amazing musician, when I play with Lynn Sorensen, who's, oh my God, one of the most badass bass players I've ever worked with. And then Doug McGrew on drums. I've worked with Ben Smith on on a project which was Apocalyptic, which was a tribute to the women in rock. So Apocalyptic was a tribute to women in rock, doing Hailstorm, Pretty Reckless, Evanescence, the real hard, edgy stuff that brought me out of this Pat Benatar comfort zone. I wanted to be different than everybody else. I wanted to challenge myself. And those are very challenging vocalists to put yourself up against,
Mm-hmm.
So I separated the two. Now I've got Calamity Jane, which is mainly all country and blues, which is awesome. It's with the Billy Shoe Band. So we brought on a female fiddleist. So she's able to contribute. I've got a pedal steel player. So everything that plays all of this classic country is there.
Yes.
And then we've got Apocalyptic, which is, where the guys really thrive, where they can go out there and they can really rip up a guitar and rip up the music and just really shred it to where it's supposed to be. So I'm able to find my comfort zone in both. I got the best of both worlds. And then, I thought I'd throw in some disco just for shits and giggles. So that's my new venture. So
that's pretty ambitious. That's a lot. I mean,
it
that's a lot
is.
of stuff. I mean, you have to have what, 3 hours worth of music for each 3 to 4 hours of music.
Yeah. It's a training the venues to say 3 hours is enough, to play longer sets rather than breaking it down and doing hour sets, a break, an hour set. I mean, we were only on our third set the other night when you came out to the show, and just to think, oh my God, we've got one more. And people are, what venues got to understand is that when you're playing classic rock, these people want to be in bed or leave by 11. They don't want to be up till 1 o'clock. I mean, I'm one of them. Absolutely. But it's just, we've got to kind of coach them a little bit and say, listen, if you want 7 to 11 is a great time, or a 7 to 10 for a band is a great time, because people still get out early enough. So all the young kids, the new genre that want to stay out and party and puke till 1:30, that's a different genre of music or a different type of thing. So I try to control that in a booking sense. We play 3 hours and this is what we can bring and this is our price. After COVID, it was really hard because bands were so hungry to get back into playing music. Everybody was cutthroating each other.
Oh, no.
Well, we pay $500, but we'll do it for $3 because we just want to play. So then the clubs are thinking, well, if these guys are going to take $3, then we're going to take $3.
Yeah.
You get what you pay for in my book.
Yeah.
If you want a band to come out and be a solid band, and it's going to be polished and just be a no-brainer, then you got to pay the money.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to do your homework. You got to vet that band and see what their followers are. That's a big important thing. How many following people do they have on Facebook? How well together are they with their website? I mean, that's where I lack right now. It's just getting all of this under one thing and try to stay off social media so much and put everything on my website, and I'm trying to drive everybody to go there.
Mm-hmm.
That way they can, see the full potential of what we offer as bands, what kind of musicians that I work with. I love to highlight the guys that I play with so much, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. I don't play an instrument. I tinker around with a harmonica once in a while, but that ain't going to get me nowhere, So I'm so thankful for them. I really am. I try to pick songs that I know are going to showcase their talents.
Right.
Not just suit my needs. That's why I was having a hard time getting Lynn and some of the guys and Chad to play a lot of the vintage country. They're like, oh my God, I'm going to go to sleep.
Yeah, exactly. That's me.
Yeah, and so it's just, I wanted to find something that I know that they believed in and that they enjoyed performing. And so when I get together with them, when we do the apocalyptic stuff, God, it's just so much energy. We're just like this fireball waiting to explode. And I am nothing but smiles when I'm on stage, especially when I'm playing with these guys, because I'm so grateful and I feel so privileged to be able to be up there and not have to sell myself as a musician anymore and give them a resume of what I've done. When I asked Lynn to come aboard and play with Apocalyptic, he was like, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, now you've got 14 bands you got to deal with, So if you're in one band, you're in 5 or 6. That's just how it goes. And for them to take the time to want to work with me has been very humbling, and it's been held dear to my heart. So I am.
So what exactly did you do during COVID? Obviously, there was a lot going on, or not.
There was a lot.
Say what?
Well, so what happened was, my band was Apocalyptic was our debut. Right. We were supposed to play at Emerald Downs. It was March 14th. I'll never forget the date. And they canceled our venue because at the time I was the entertainment director for Emerald Downs. And I said, hey, I get it. Yeah. And so we went and played at another club, and I won't mention the name, but we played there and 30 people caught COVID. Oh my God.
Oh, no.
Yeah. We were just like this petri dish of craziness. And some of my friends really got sick. And so I felt terrible. I mean, nobody really knew what to expect from this thing, right? I caught it at some point between February and March. And so when everybody was on lockdown, I said, and I heard about all these people that were getting depressed and drinking and just going into this dark place. And so what I did was I did something to better myself. I got registered with FEMA. And so I'm certified now to go on disaster relief, so I can be deployed at any time to go help other people in different states. I was always, at the time, I was still working with the Seattle Gospel Mission. So I was out previous to COVID, out handing out blankets and kind of just trying to get people to get help. And then I got certified with the American Red Cross, to where I'm a disaster relief as well. So I'm able to go out to the fires and stuff that are going on in different states and to help with the food and to help with the firefighters and do all these different things. And then I took a really big leap. My father was a Seattle police officer when back in 1970, 79 is when there was a big jailbreak, or 78 or 79. And I've always been very supportive of our police departments. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to see if I can join the Seattle Police Department. So I had nothing better to do. So I stayed home and I worked out. I got myself healthy, got all of my background. I had nothing to worry about with my background check. I knew I was a clean slate. I knew I was going to be okay. And right before they were going to have us in for recruitment, where my father actually took his police training down at the Seattle police training, and I think it's down off on Martin Luther King Way. They canceled it because of COVID. So my ambitions of becoming a Seattle police officer were put on hold. But and I wrote music while I was sitting there. You're sitting there in your own thoughts for quite a long time. And
Yes.
And I just tried to do something to better myself. I didn't want to come because I knew it eventually someone's going to ask me, what'd you do during COVID? I didn't want to say, well, I drank myself into a pickle. And, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to not let my brain go to shit. And I wanted just to keep myself active and try to better myself as a humanitarian. And it's something I can't go without now. So
I also read something in your comments on Facebook. I believe you were talking about the USO.
Oh, yes. So that's been my new venture. You had to go through a background check on all of that as well. They're very secretive about posting things, at events and things like that because of, whatever circumstances. But I went to my first welcoming home last week, and to see all these people lining up at the airport with their flags and their welcome home as they have family members coming through, to see them get off the plane, and you have all these veterans and people that have served our country come through. And we have a couple gals and a lot of organizations that make quilts. So what they do is they make all these beautiful quilts, and then they hand them to each person that comes through. And to see the look on their face, there was tears, of like, what is going on here? From these people, they're like, why are you giving me a quilt? And I'm standing there just bawling, because I felt so I can't even explain the words. I just felt so amazingly privileged to be there in this company of people, to know that it's not just a parade. It's not just another event. This was something we're welcoming them home from serving our country. And just a few days earlier, I got to participate in the USO Gala, where I had to sing the national anthem. And you talk about intimidation. I mean, I've sang that song, I swear to God, over 300 times. I've sang our anthem. And I thought, what the hell? If I forget the words here, I'm going to be in the firing squad. I'm going to be in big trouble, right? But again, I felt just so courageous. I felt like I had 10 of me performing this, because I felt like, I've always, when I've encouraged younger people that are coming into the music and they get the stage fright, I say, just remember, you're the one here that they've asked to be here. So give yourself a little credit, and do what you were brought here to do, and put all of your fears aside, and so that's what I did. And just to be able to be in presence of these men and women is very graceful to me, and I love doing what I'm doing. I'm getting more involved with, so like when I go and I volunteer, we clean, we cook, we get so many sponsors that donate furniture, and they donate video games, to try to keep them engaged and entertained while they're getting either their first deployment to wherever they're going. We get families there that they're accompanying their partners when they're being deployed. So it's a very emotional connection. And it's something that I'm looking very much forward to. I'm trying to get together a situation where we can start doing a little mini USO tour, to where we can get the band to go out and do maybe once a month a show in local facilities or local vendors with, out of state stuff maybe, and try to raise money for the USO and bring awareness about where that money goes. So, music is part of healing, and I think that it engages people. And if we can use our talents to do that and raise more money for the USO, then that's my ambition right now. That's on my list.
Well, I do want to thank you on the behalf of military families. I come from a military family. My children, my oldest boy and my oldest daughter were in the U.S. Army. My ex-husband was in the Vietnam War, and he served 2 tours of duty with the U.S. Marine Corps. And and my husband now is in the Air Force. So I spent many years on military posts. So
get to see the world probably. Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you very much for their service. I mean, that's just I remember I had 2 recruiters come to my house, and actually they came to my work. It was during Desert Storm, and at that time they were recruiting.
That's my kids served. Yeah.
Oh crap! I tell you what, I was working at QFC at the time, and I have these 3 men in. I don't even think they were in uniform. They were in suits, and they came into the grocery store and they talked to my store manager. And before you know it, they're telling me that I have to go to Desert Storm. So I called my dad, and my dad had them come to the house, and he talked them out of it. I was only 19 at this time, but then from that point on, I wanted to join the military. I did have an Army recruiter come out to the house, and my dad sat me down because, he was in Vietnam as well.
Yes.
And my father ended up contacting Agent Orange, which then, just trickled down more health concerns for him. And so when he passed on, that was a part of his demise in his health. But he says, Chrissy, he says, I'm worried about you. He says, because when someone tells you you can't do something, you'll do it just to spite them. And I said, yeah, I'm kind of like that, So, I mean, that's always been something, that's been in me. I've been told I'm a gypsy. That's probably why I've never been married, got no kids, because I want to live my life.
Yeah.
I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And I've made a lot of bad decisions in my life that have, brought me to certain circumstances, but, I've always came out swinging.
Good for you.
I just want to take the gloves off. That's all I want. I don't want to fight no more, but I can say I've lived a very, very fruitful life. So.
Well, that's encouraging. I know music is not, it's just not easy on women. And I had my own band. I started my own band in 2000, and we played until 2015. Got cancer and just couldn't hack the 4 hours on the stage. But in order to solve the problem with the guys, now I was older, so I didn't have your problems. But I did have problems with the men in the band. Since it was my band, I expected certain things from them, and it was kind of a different environment at that time. So I had my husband call them and manage the band because I said they're not going to listen to me, and they didn't. And I learned my lessons too, the hard way.
Isn't that something? I mean, it really is.
It's still there.
It's like, with these women that come out and they play an instrument, kudos to them because,
Yes.
if they can do their own thing without getting the assistance from other people, that's pretty amazing,
Yes.
And me, on the other hand, I still don't know my keys. I went to Nashville and, oh man, talk about an eye opener. That was just a fluke. I went down there to see what I could do, to see if I can find a band. And I went down and went to Music Row, and I was so disgusted because I'm walking into these bars that are covered with Hank Williams and Frank Campbell, and you got some guy on stage with more makeup than I've got on singing Journey. And I'm like, I can do this at home. I don't need to come to Nashville. I can do this back in Seattle. And they would not accept me as a musician because I did too much classic country. And I remember going off on one lady in Layla's. And I said, do you see all these people on the wall? This is why this place is still here. Respect it. And I never got booked there again. So that's fine. But then I remember crossing the street and I heard a band playing Waylon Jennings, and it just sucked me right in, right? So I went in, and it was called The Wheel, and which is now, I think, a bar from Alan Jackson owns it or somebody. And I remember walking in, it was Heath Haynes and the High Dollars were playing, and I was just in awe. I was having so much fun by myself, and before you know it, Heath met me the next day. We had barbecue across the street, and he offered me a position a position to play with them. So I found a place to live, and I found a band all in a week that I was there, and I was able to come back. My friend Gayla Graves, she's an amazing artist as well. She set me up with getting gigs down there and set me up with a rehearsal and getting the musicians to play my own stuff. I mean, it was just like bam, 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 and that was back in 08, something like that, 03. It was a long time ago. But, it's amazing how music quickly can happen for you, and you've got to be prepared for it. I remember Heath saying, okay, so what key do you sing that in? I'm like, I don't know. And he says, honey, to me, my traditional response is just play it like the album, right? Because, that was just something I was used to. And he says, you need to learn your keys. Yeah. And so that was, again, it was a learning experience. I've never came out and said, oh, I know everything I need to know. There's always a day you're learning. I don't care how old you are or how long you've been doing it. There's always a new learning process. So learn the hard way.
I do want to say something about this. Of all the places that I go to karaoke,
Mhm.
there's only well, I jam. I don't do gigs because I'm real particular about who plays for me. I mean, I think
Yeah,
you're only as good as the people supporting you. And
exactly.
and these people that have bands like here's 5 or 6 bands, it's like, well, here I'm gonna book a gig, and then it's all a matter of who's available at the time. And, I'm used
Exactly.
to having one band, and that's what they're gonna expect. They're not gonna expect different people all the time. So anyway, but of all the places that allow women, there's only two. One of them is Billy Shue. He has the women come up. There's a gal that plays out at Stockton and at the Star where he has his jams, and she's a lead guitar. She doesn't sing, but he has her
Mhm,
up on the stage, and he's had her as a guest, and of course he's had me fumbling my
mhm.
way
That's
around
where
there.
I met you. Yes, that was awesome.
Absolutely. And Jerry Batista, I had called me up on stage quite unexpectedly. Well, I can't even talk one night when I walked in because I sing a song called These Boots and by Nancy Sinatra. So I just walked in the door and he called me up there. So I did my song. But other than that, not so much. And they certainly don't allow us to play up on stage with them. So there are some things that could change, and I hope that us girls work for that because we need that. I mean, the guys go up there, and they're welcomed up onto the stage, and they get so much out of it, and we're kind of restricted, which kind of leaves us a little further behind, and I think that could change.
I think so too. And I was actually just talking to someone about this the other day, is getting a showcase together of nothing but female bands or vocalists
Right.
to really, just there's so much talent out there, and
Yeah,
there's a lot of hidden talent that we don't know about. I
right.
mean, to touch on what you said, if trying to get everybody together in one room to play, like it's a scramble all the time. I hired the Out of Control band to come play this last Saturday because
Yes.
a couple of the guys weren't available from the other band. So it's like,
Right.
gosh, so then you really have to. And that's like when I try to promote music, I usually just try to use my own name
Yeah.
because that way they don't know what they're getting until they get
Right.
it, kind of a
Right.
deal. um
Yeah. That's a good idea.
and and if you do that, it makes things a little bit easier. And if you always have, try not to say, okay, well, this one person does this and this one person was that. It's like I always just say, okay, listen, I want to have two for every spot, because if you're not available, and then maybe they are.
Right.
So anybody that's listening that maybe runs into that problem, get a calendar together where everybody puts their dates in.
Yeah.
And when you're booking, that's the most frustrating part, because
Yeah.
if you sit with an agent and they're like, well, what dates do you have available? It's like, I don't know, let me check with the band, and that could be 5 days later. So if
Right.
you look at this calendar and if you don't have either of your bass players available, then you don't play.
That's right.
Simple as that. It's a done deal. And rather than try to scramble for musicians to make it work, it doesn't work, because what I've found that I've had to do is not do the songs that I want to do. I have to do the songs that that band knows just to make the gig
Exactly.
work.
Same with gigging.
And
Gigging, it's the same
yeah,
thing. Yeah.
exactly. So before you know it, I'm doing songs that I just want to choke myself,
Yeah.
but I do it because I can't I can't ask them to learn a bunch of songs just for me. And so I mean that is very frustrating. But I've been so lucky to be able to call upon guys and say, listen, so what I try to do is I try to book them as their band. And then maybe I'll come up and sing two or three songs. Yeah. So, I'll just say, hey, listen, this will be booked under you. I'll just come and sing two or three songs that you already know, and then that'll be it. I mean, I just try to fill make everybody happy. And so, but yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, you've got to sing songs that that are true to you and that you're not going to be bored with and that you can perform. And like my biggest pet peeve is singing from an iPad. I remember when I was hiring at Emerald Downs, I said, if your lead vocalist has an iPad in front of her, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And then they would show up and a couple of them did, and I was pissed. I was like, "You are not performing. If you don't know the song, don't pretend to know it." You're scrolling while you're singing "Hit Me,
Right.
Baby, One More Time," and at the same time, nobody knows what the hell you're doing. So, I mean, that's a big pet peeve for me. So if I don't know the song, then I just don't do it. So, I just encourage people to get their shit together. If you're going to be filling in and doing stuff for other bands, make sure that you're performing, because that's what you're getting paid to do, and be true to who you're representing. So
if all
that's just
that,
my 2 cents.
I like your 2 cents. It's a
Maybe I'll get change back. I don't know, but maybe it
struggle.
was a nickel's worth. I don't know. So,
Yeah. So, in all the things that you've done since you started, what would you say keeps you going in those times when we get down, like we all do at some point? I don't care how famous or how long you've been playing. There are times when everything goes wrong. No matter how well you plan, everything goes wrong. And there are nights when you don't do your best, you don't sing your best, or you miss a word, or it just happens. It's life. So looking back at all that, what's kept you going? What's other than your love of music, which I know that's a primary motivating factor for most musicians and artists. But what would you say that is? What is it that keeps you knocking your head against that wall and coming back for more?
well, there's been times where I've just said I'm done, because the struggles working with agents has been a recent thing lately. You do them favors and they don't want to do you any back. So again, how do you handle that situation? Do you go above them? Absolutely. You serve yourself the way you want to serve others, I guess, in that sense. So, I mean, at the same time, you hold the respect of what's going on in your life, whether you want to just hang your boots up and say, I'm done with music, because I'm not going to let that one person put a hitch in my giddy up. I always come out, I always try to do better. But music sucks you back in. It's kind of like that, that boyfriend girlfriend thing, it's not me, it's not you, it's just me. Let's just be friends. It's kind of like, but it's always, when someone like Lance Sorensen, for example, I've had a breakdown moment with him and just said, God, Lynn, I don't want to give this up, but I'm discouraged a lot, and I just had a really heart to heart with him and just said, I'm discouraged. I said, I can't find the right musicians. I can't find what I'm looking to do. I feel like I'm doing this for other people and I'm not doing what's in my heart. And he just said, you know what, then let's get this going. And he's been a huge support. He's always been in my corner, and I've always appreciated that. He's always given me words of encouragement and enlightened my dark moments, as far as pulling me out of this, this pity party we have. Yeah. And and a lot of it's been my friends. I mean, I can't believe, like Saturday, how many people that showed up that I haven't seen in so long and just were there for me. I mean, that has been always that's always been my lure to get me back into everything, is because, you know what, I'm doing what I love and I'm doing it for the people that came out to support me. And so that's just more encouragement.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And kids are my those are my favorite crowd. If I see kids, like I was a judge for the Maple Valley Idol contest, and all of these girls, I'm standing backstage and they're all in line to go out for rehearsal, and they're kind of just doing this little dance thing that they did. Oh, I'm so nervous. Oh my gosh, why is so-and-so here? I was just hearing this little girl's talk.
Oh, Chrissy. We I'm back in, Chrissy. I don't know what that was all about. She got cut off. Oh, I love this. Oh dear. Give me just a minute here while I try to get her back. If not, stay tuned and we'll get her to come back on. Hopefully she's logging in. There she is.
Am I here?
Yeah, we got we
Yeah,
got cut off.
I got cut
And
off twice today. Facebook cut me off, and I'm in jail for that for 24 hours. And now, geez,
so
shut up
wh-
already.
what I've got is I had to use this older laptop, and because I couldn't get my new one going, my husband used it. Go figure. And yeah, I don't know what he did, but if it didn't plug in, so I think it's not charged, and so I'm going to have the same problem right now. And I haven't got a plug, so I got to go get the plug. So if we get cut off, what I want to do in these last few minutes before that happens, and I don't
Mhm.
know at what point that might happen because I've got 18%. So let's hope it lasts as long as
Okay.
we need it. But I do want to get to number one. I want you to post just you make a post if you can, if you have time, with your websites on it, so that people can follow you and see what you're doing. Also, what things do you have coming up till the end of the year? And what things would you like to promote?
Well, right now I'm having everyone go to ChrissyAlexandermusic.com. That's where you're going to find at least the calendar of events coming up. But next Saturday we're at Bourbon Jackson, Auburn, so it's going to be Calamity Jane down there. We play from 6 till 9,
Okay.
and that's with the Billy Shoe Band. And then November 5th, I'm with Sonic Funk Orchestra, my new disco
Yes, I heard.
adventure. Yeah,
Congrats.
so much
Yeah.
fun. So yeah, we just had rehearsal yesterday, and it was really cool. And so our gig is at Tulalip Casino on November 5th.
All right.
So we play
I
from
do post
8:30 to
those.
2:45. Yeah.
Uh,
And I've got a
excellent.
nasty cold, as you could tell. I woke up with a nasty cold this morning,
Mhm.
so I'm hoping I can strive through
Okay.
that next week.
I know you were having some issues last week too, so I do hope that you stay healthy so that you can go through these and get them done. You're a great talent, and I loved seeing you. So I'm
Oh,
sure
thank you, Joy.
the people in that. The thing is, the people that were at Stockton's on Saturday night for your birthday,
Yeah.
uh, they were multi ages, but it was a slightly younger crowd than I've
Mm.
seen out there. And there were older people there too. I mean, don't get me wrong. Obviously, there were younger people there. Is not their scene out at
Yeah.
Stockton's. They were really enjoying it and they loved everything that you're doing. So your fans love you, Chrissy.
Well, you know what's so cool about this? My girlfriend that was there with me, she had showed me this video, and it was a couple that was out there on their first date, and she was asking her, "Can you go ask the band to play something slow?" And right when she said that, we just broke into girl crush, right? And all you can see is this couple dancing, and they shared their first kiss.
Oh,
And it was like we both started crying when we saw it, because it was music was involved, and it was a part of somebody's first dance together. It was a part of their first kiss. And she got it all on video, and to
oh,
say that we were able to be a part of that in a weird kind of sensey way, it's that's what I just love about it. So, I appreciate that very much. And I love everybody that comes out, and kudos to the band, because my friends went back the next day and had breakfast at Stockton's. It used to be the old Glorias. That was my old
yes,
stop
yes.
back
I
in the
used
day.
to go there karaoke.
Oh, yeah, remember when they had the stage and the brass rail
Yes,
up there?
yes.
That's when I first started too. And they went back and they said that was the best band that we've ever had here. So, I mean, it's
Absolutely.
just because of our energy. It's because of
Well,
the way.
because the sound for that another thing that you did right, that and I know there's probably the band that did it, set it up, but the fact that it was not so loud that it hurt your ears. I mean, the sound is perfect as far as volume, and I think that makes a big difference. So if we get cut off here, do you have anything before we do that you could say? I mean, you've given us a lot of information about things to do, but is
Mhm.
there anything in particular you'd like to tell my listeners about your whole music career and what you learned along the way in in a short clip?
Yeah. Just keep supporting live music. And if you're if you have children that are interested, let them play whatever instrument they want. It's going to be an expensive adventure for sure. But let them find what makes them happy. And like I was getting back to that is my most favorite crowd is the kids. I encourage them. I try to show them what to do on stage. I try to show them how to not be nervous. That is because that's our next generation of kids, that are coming into this stuff. And so that's, kids are my most favorite crowd ever. And so I welcome those anytime I can get to an outdoor type of gig where kids are involved. So, but yeah, that's my words of advice. If you have kids or somebody who's a musician, encourage them, support them, show up, whether you're tired or you don't want to go out that night. Just remember, I know as a musician, when I see the more people out there and the more people that I've invited in the show up, the better I am as a performer, because I want to do well for them.
Absolutely.
I want to really, give them what they came to see. So it's very encouraging to have that support.
Okay. And the last question that I'm going to ask you, Chrissy, is what do you see yourself doing 1 to 5 years from now?
Ooh, there's that curveball you said was coming. I'm hoping that I'll be in a position at that time where I've written music and I can just accept the checks in the mail. I still will be performing. Obviously, there's stages in your life. There was stages where I was singing Britney Spears and those kinds of things and wearing the schoolgirl outfits. Now it would just be ridiculous if I were to do that, but recognize who you are as a person and how you're going to portray that to your fans. But as far as how I see myself in 5 years, I see myself still being musically inclined, but I don't know. I really don't know. I don't have an honest answer for you. I would love to still be doing music, but at the same time, I think I'd like to engage more with kids and to kind of show them what I've gone through and how it is that I got to where I am, and maybe be a light at the end of their tunnel. But yeah,
all right,
maybe singing at the VFW or something. I don't
know. Well, whatever you do, I'm sure it's going to be a very positive thing. You're a very busy lady, and I do appreciate the things that you've done and you do. So
thank you, Joy, for having me. I appreciate it.
It was a great time, Chrissy. I wish this hadn't happened, but I still have about 15%, and so I'm afraid that we're going to get cut off. But while we have this last few minutes before we do get cut off, if we do, can you tell me? I was listening to one of your songs. It was on your website. It's called Riding Fences, yeah, I loved it.
That song was a song that Jerry had. He had it for 6 years, and he says, I haven't found anybody to give this song to yet. And it was written by George Jones's daughter. And the song hit home because I was in a relationship, very long-term relationship at that time. And if you listen to the words, it was exactly how I was feeling. Wow. I was in a numb place, not knowing what to do. And when I got back from that studio session, I made the decision to move to New York. I knew I had to make a decision for myself and to decide whether or not staying in Washington was a good fit for me. And but that song hit home like you wouldn't believe, and it was written for me. I think it's a beautiful song. Yeah, so that's the truth behind that one.
Chrissy, don't leave me.
I'm here.
I got a plug in now, so we can.
Oh, good. Okay.
He came over just in time.
Yes.
So, what new song are you working on new stuff right now, or?
Yeah, there's my very first song that I wrote was called Check Up from the Neck Up. It's such a catchy tune, so that's what I'm doing right now is I'm fine-tuning that song just so it's one more to add to the album. So we've got Check Up from the Neck Up, Honky Tonk Life, and which I wrote with Jerry Bridges. He was Waylon's bass player throughout his whole career. And for Jerry and I to collaborate and just the way that we write music together, it just falls hand in hand. So we've got Check Up from the Neck Up, Honky Tonk Life, Proofs in the Bottle, And then we have Writing Fences. And then we wrote one together called Our Love, which is like a wedding song. I've learned if you write songs that are going to be used in weddings or commercials, those are the ones to get, because the copyright, and all of the money you get from those times, all the royalties you get from those things. So, I mean, that's one thing for artists if they're doing stuff. Keep something that's universal. And then I'm trying to do more of, to finish the album, to do songs that I really took upon as far as like the artists, like Jesse Coulter, and just trying to do songs that they're covers, but I still want to do them, as just to kind of fill the album. But they're songs that I've always loved to do. Like if you go on my website, you'll hear a song called Man with 18 Wheels. And that was sang by Leanne Womack.
Oh,
and I have so many truck driver friends that love that song. The song is just awesome. But, I mean, to me, I've always written the video first before I wrote the song, which is, again, it's either the cart, being pulled before the horse, or the horse being pulled before the cart in that situation. I'm not sure yet, but I have a visual of a song, and then before you know it, I'm writing it. I'm trying to think of a cool video. Maybe I could get in one of my friend's trucks and drive one of his 18-wheelers and try not to kill anybody. But yeah, so, I mean, I just, that's like my next thing, is just to fine tune what I have and to start fresh, but I don't want to start over until I know I'm financially ready for that. Again, so Jerry recommended maybe doing like a GoFundMe page and listing, these are the musicians that are going to be involved, top-notch guys, they're not just any Joe Schmo. And then, finding out if, there's an executive producer. So whoever contributes the most gets to be on the album and gets to partake in everything that's going on with the production of everything. So there's a lot of little details. I'm trying to connect with Sub Pop Records right now to see if they can help me. They've helped a lot of the bands in Seattle. And just, I don't want to use them as a stepping stone. I'd like to continue working with them, because that's what has happened. They start with somewhere and then they leave off and they go to a bigger label. I'm not like that. I like to keep everything home cloned, and see if there's a way that they can help me get that together. But mainly right now it's just fine tuning, still writing I have a stack like that full of lyrics that again are just all not done. And I think it's just a matter of getting down in a writing session. Jerry's invited me to come back to Nashville and, sit down with him for a few days and just finish out some of these songs. And maybe that's what I'll do, and kind of put together a game plan again about how to finish this up. So,
sounds like fun.
Yeah, it's a great time. I mean, it is. You remember when Elvis came back and he was in his black leather suit, and he had everybody sitting on stage and they just jammed and played? That's when music happens.
Yeah.
You sit there, and I made a big pot of sodium stew, I called it, because it was so loaded with salt, and we sat around and we had our beverage of choice. We had our instruments. We sat down in folding chairs, and I would start singing and they would start playing. And before you know it, you have this song done. Okay, what's next? And that is just such an accomplished feeling.
Yes, wow.
To see, wow, we actually got this song done. We put some life to it. So I'm hoping that I get that opportunity again to do that with Jerry sometime soon.
All right. We have two more comments. I don't know if you've ever watched, but Dublin Abbey does a lot of Irish flavored songs. And he said, great interview. That was Patrick O'Donnell. Donald. And he made that comment for us. And Donald Melodor said, so you're in New York now? No, she's not in New York. She's right here in Washington. And he also said, hello, Chrissy. So I had to block somebody out here. They were getting kind of nasty, but
well, yeah, I saw some show my hot photo here, and I'm like, hey, it's like, what are you seeing that I'm not seeing? What's going on?
I've never had that happen before.
You leave it to me to bring up all the crazies, that's like awesome.
Well, I think we have a pretty good idea what you have on your plate and all of the things that you're doing for the betterment of society and our community. So thank you for that, Chrissy. It's been a real pleasure talking to you today. And I wish you every best of luck that there possibly is out there.
No, I appreciate you having me join. I'm so glad that you and I had a chance to meet. So if you get a chance, come out Saturday and join us. It'll be fun. I'll get you up on stage to sing or play with us.
I don't know
Yeah.
about that, but thank you.
Yes,
Where'd you say you were going to be on Saturday?
we're at, we're at Bourbon Jack's, and Billy Shoe will be down
Oh,
there.
that's right.
So,
Okay.
mhm.
All right, girl. Thank you very
All
much.
right, you
Thank
guys
you
take
for the
care.
invitation.
All
Stay
right,
well.
I will. I know I'm working on. I'm going to be lazy. I'm going to do my Al Bundy routine and just lay down and not do anything.
There's a good idea. All right,
All right,
Chrissy.
you guys. Bye.
Bye-bye. So that winds it up. We are now at the end. I do have, if you would like to contribute to my music and my music productions, I have at my website at the very end on the first page, I have a jar where you can contribute. Doesn't matter how much. You do have to do it. There's no obligation, but if you'd like me help me create my music, I'm looking at a $5,000 goal. I did not put that on the website, but if you can help out, please do. In the meantime, enjoy your week. Thanks for watching. And with next week, next Monday is Halloween. There will be no program on Halloween, and I'll be announcing that later. So see you all. Take care.